Welcome to the couch. I have something to talk to you about today. Guilt is one of the most powerful things that we can experience. One of the most powerful negative things we can experience. Don't you think it's time we did something about it? Imagine what your life would be like if you lived without guilt. I've noticed something over the last few years when I'm talking to hundreds and hundreds of teenagers who are depressed, anxious, dealing with other mental health challenges. One common symptom almost all of them present are intense feelings of guilt. And see, the thing about this guilt is not just like, oh, I did something bad, I feel guilty, which is healthy. No, this is feeling I did something terrible and I can never be forgiven. I am a terrible person, I'm an awful person, and I am hopeless, I'm just a bad person. This is what's going through these teenagers' mind. This went through my mind as well, is I felt intense feelings of guilt for all the really bad stuff that I did. I didn't do tons of bad stuff, but nevertheless, I still felt really guilty about it. And this is a cause from depression, twisting your mind to make the bad seem super bad and the good seem not all that good. What depression does is it focuses your mind on the bad. So you're just constantly being surrounded by negativity. That's why I talked about positivity and positive thinking in a previous video. You should go check that out. So obviously, I hope you can see that this is a huge problem. Because if you feel like you're a terrible person, that you can never be forgiven, then of course, this leads to intense feelings of suicide and feeling of why go on. This hopelessness is so prevalent in teens and adults alike, but we're specifically talking about teens right here. A great way to combat this is to forgive yourself. Now, I know that may seem either impossible or difficult, or what does that mean? Let me explain. Forgiving yourself can take many forms depending on the person. But for me, this is how forgiving myself took place. I was sitting with my therapist and I was telling him how bad I felt for all the money my parents spent on me because of the crash, because of the hospital, because of everything that followed, all that bad stuff I did, that was an example of really bad stuff that I did where I attempted suicide, right? That hurt a lot of people, caused a lot of damage, and my parents had to pay for it. So obviously I was feeling really bad about it and I wanted to repay them, but I couldn't because I was 16 and I didn't know what to do. So I was talking to my therapist about this and he told me this, and I'll never forget this. This is one of the two things that he said to me that I'll never forget. He looked at me and said, Luke, if your parents gave you a really nice Christmas present, would you say, oh, this is too big, I don't really deserve this, I need to pay you back for it? Would you do that? I said, of course not. And he said, this is what your parents did for you. This was a present they gave to you. Now you can thank them for that, and you can be the best son that you can be. As payment, so to speak, as a thank you for that. But as far as paying them back and feeling guilty, he said, this is a gift, accept it and move on. And that just made perfect sense to me. And that analogy just clicked. And I thought, yes, this is a gift. I'm going to accept the gift, no matter how hard it was for me. And it was still really hard for me. But I accepted the gift and I tried my best to move on. Does that mean that no guilt ever presented itself again? Of course not. But the thing is that I worked day after day to diminish those feelings. I did that by saying a thank you, right? Or repairing our relationship through communication, through being the best son I could be. And see, that's something that maybe you could do, is that if you hurt somebody, whether it was intentional or not, whether you're depressed or not, is that your payment, the way you can move out of not being guilty, can be that repairing, whether it's repairing of a relationship or something else, some other way of repairing something in your life, is that that's the way to move on. Not by feeling guilty and sitting there and just feeling guilty for yourself. If you truly feel guilty, then that should spur you to do something about that guilt. You have to want to overcome your depression. You have to want to overcome your symptoms. You have to want this, and you have to do something about it. I know it's not easy. I'm never saying it is. That's not the point here. The point is that you have the power to do this. I did it as a depressed teenager. You can do it too. We're not so different. I have different skills, you have different skills. You have your own passion and personality, uniqueness, so do I. Of course we're different. But the thing is, I've struggled a lot in the past with scrupulosity. I've struggled a lot in the past with feelings of guilt, intense feelings of guilt for the smallest little things. And for those of you who don't know, scrupulosity is when you have those intense feelings of guilt for something you really shouldn't feel guilty about. You accidentally left the fridge open for 30 seconds. So your mom's like, close the fridge. You shouldn't feel intense guilt for that, or really any guilt for that. You should say, oh, sorry, try not to do it again. Of course you try not to do it again, but you shouldn't really feel all that guilty because of it. So it's things like that you can notice this about yourself. If you're having trouble seeing, well, do I feel a healthy guilt or unhealthy guilt? Honestly, the best way is to look at the action, and if you still can't tell, really by examining the action, is ask someone else. Ask your parents, a sibling, a friend, hey, I feel kind of guilty about this. Is that healthy? Is that normal? And then maybe they can say, no, it's not. Or they can say, yeah, it is. So by recognizing it, you could say, okay, is this healthy or not? You could ask somebody about it to help guide you in that. And then you can take the steps to repair that, whatever wrong was done, whatever you feel guilty about. If it is a healthy guilt and you say, look, I really do feel guilty about this because I did do something wrong. Like in my case, I did do something wrong. And I felt, and guilt is healthy when you actually do something wrong. But don't sit in that guilt. Don't wallow in that guilt. That's not doing any good. And that's taking the purpose of guilt and it's taking it and misusing it. The purpose of it is to spur you, to make you uncomfortable, to make you feel sick, to make you feel awful. So that way you do something about it. Problem is when you're depressed, the energy, the motivation isn't there, and that makes it really, really hard. That's why you always need support. That's why I'm always here for you. And that's why I'm always encouraging you to communicate with those around you. That's honestly one of the best ways to start moving forward, is find someone, whether it's your parents or a friend or a therapist, to really hold you accountable and say, hey, I know you're feeling guilty. Why don't you do this? Or you said you're going to do this to repair these feelings. Why aren't you doing it? That's one of the best ways. And I'll be bringing up accountability partners over and over and over again, because it's just such a helpful, awesome way for you to overcome these feelings. I know you don't want to live in guilt. And I know when you're depressed, things are complicated, things are messy, things are tough, things are hard. I get it, I understand. I'm here for you during this time. I will always be here for you. And I just want to tell you that you are awesome, you are indelible, and you can't be erased. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit that like button and comment with what do you think, or what other topics should I talk on next. This is for you, so I want to make sure that this is helpful to you by talking about topics that would apply to your life, topics that could just help you out, or maybe topics that you need so that way you can help a friend. And that's what I'm here for. And then so, hit me up on social, and I'll see you tomorrow. Being ashamed, staying ashamed. Subscribe!